Welcome to the first. You have a story. If you look back on your life, you've done things for the first time that no one in your family, in your town, in the country has done. This is Dr. Sandi. You have unknowingly paved the way for others without knowing it or even acknowledging it. This is where you tell your story so that those who come after you can walk in your footsteps to build their own firsts. Hey everybody, Sheila Volante is an avid advocate of Industry 5.0 and is at the forefront of the movement. A visual component study found that almost half of manufacturers are facing significant cost increases due to investment in people, and over half lacks technology training. Additionally, the economic climate is holding back sustainability strategies. The concept of 5.0 is that it is time to eliminate waste, improve efficiencies, and reduce power usage. The impact on the next generation will be significant, and Sheila feels it will change generational wealth. You can reach Sheila on her website at searsolution.com. You can email her at hello@searsolution.com, and her LinkedIn is Sheila Volante. Welcome, Sheila. Hey, everybody, this is Dr. Sandi. We are on my podcast, The First with Dr. Sandi, and today I have Sheila Volante.
Hi.
Is that how, did I pronounce your name correctly?
You pronounced it perfectly.
Okay, because I'm looking at it, I'm like, is it Volante? And I didn't know. I went for the exotic pronunciation, Volante. So Sheila, tell us a little bit about yourself today and your amazing company.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for this opportunity. Once again, my name is Sheila Volante, and I currently reside here in Las Vegas, Nevada. However, my hometown is Lawndale, California. And my company is Sears Strategic Solutions. We are a Microsoft partner in adoption and change management for Microsoft products. And I'm also a PhD candidate at Capella University with the emphasis of strategy and innovation. And my main topic and focus is on the perceptions of hospitality managers and their kind of sentiment about robotic frontline workers.
Yeah, so you mentioned robotics.
Yes.
And I noticed on your intake form, your topic is surviving the 5.0,
Yes.
which is a global societal shift.
Mm-hmm.
Well, can you tell us about 4.0 first? Because I don't even think most people frame their minds in this aspect. What was 4.0 versus what 5.0 is?
Absolutely. So the 4.0 is the mix between the reality of cyber and the physical. And so as we remember, let's take a little journey back in the 80s when Microsoft in early 90s started to create this new of microcomputers, right? We started to see the digital age really start to evolve where, data processing, as I used to call it, was more the focal revolutionary, right? It really helped boom, especially around the world, but the United States in general. And so since then, we have been capturing all of this data, right? All of this data amongst different industries, different platforms. And as we go through the sector of industry 2.0, 3.0, we're now coming into what's called 4.0, where we're living in a kind of a world where we're mixed with more of the robotics as well with people. So the 4.0 is, as we're moving into that, is drifting more of reliability on robotic means.
And I also, in 4.0, you had things like smart systems, right? It's getting the AI to integrate with the physical stuff.
Yes.
My house is so not 4.0.
Yeah.
I tried my thermostat and I'm just like, no, I need to be able to set my stuff the way
Correct.
So I'm old school. I'm not 4.0. Stuff like virtual, I love, right?
Yes.
The virtual world is all part of 4.0. We can sit here and talk like we couldn't before, are not as prevalent.
Correct.
Type was like 3.0 or maybe 2.0.
Yes, so we are definitely in those point O's. It's the way that we are moving in society. So there's industry 5.0 or 4.0, and there's society 4.0 or 5.0. And since the Industrial Revolution, which is in the 2.0, right? Beforehand, we had farmers and people had their own goals, right? And so when we had the revolution of the industrial age, people started to do things quicker, right? Assembly line workers, things of that nature. And so as our generation, since I would say from the 1920s to the 1980s, we were basically faceted on people doing the work and people actually producing for organizations in every vertical industry. But now we're moving into this now, like you mentioned, 4.0. We can use robots or things of technology to help curate the support of workers and people. And so just going back to the 4.0 and what that means, it's basically the blend between the artificial intelligence blend with the complementary of the person to make things work.
So a lot of people think robotics is going to take away jobs.
Mm-hmm.
Can you speak to that?
Absolutely. I think that it is the way that we think about jobs today is not the way we're going to be doing jobs tomorrow. And if we can just go back to the 1960s cartoons, the Jetsons, right? You didn't see the Jetsons were not like the Flintstones, where Fred Flintstone, he was really hard working out in the yard, where, the dad in the Jetsons was just really kind of pushing buttons.
Fred was using his feet to run in the car, and the Jetsons were flying in the air without.
Agreed. And it was really no stress, right? He just pushed buttons all day in a big old office. And really, that was considered productivity. So to answer your question, it is the change of how people are going to bring in their own money. So the way that we think about, we go to a job 40 hours a week, 5 days, 40 hours a week, 5 days a week to bring in money, right? Where in this new world, we have actually a supply of something of a mean like a robot that can be able to work on behalf of us, where we can be able to consume that dollar. So the world of the word job is going to evolve in the next couple of decades.
Well, it's evolving already.
Yes.
Especially since the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think 5.0 was going to be a reality, but it became really real.
Yes.
In the pandemic, because we had to speed everything up, right? Where we were like, oh, be nice to work from home. Now you have to. It was a mandate. We had to work from home. And so all those people who didn't have virtual access had to go out and get it. I mean, whether on their phones, little kids had to be on their computers doing schoolwork and learning how to Zoom. And so it just pushed us, I think, almost a light year ahead.
Yes. Agreed. And it's been there for about a decade. I started in tech in 2007. I remember working from home as a consultant, traveling, going to log in go to mypc.com WebEx, right? There were means of working from home. However, from a societal perspective, it was not the change that was popular at that time.
Psychological change. So all the psychological part of that was not there. And no one really, I shouldn't say no one, because we did. We were a virtual company, 99%. But most people thought we were crazy. Like, how could you have this workforce around the country and the world without seeing them and checking on them all the time? And so that's the way we grew up. That's the way we created our company. So we didn't really know anything else. But other people that I would say, how do you run the numbers? Like, why do you have a brick and mortar? It's your job is not client facing where people are coming into your office all the time. Why do you have this extra overhead? You know,
Agreed.
because we have to have a Fifth Avenue office. You know, that's what, and I'm like, who comes there though? Get a
Right.
mailbox, right?
Agreed. And that's the psychological, I think, here in America, that's the psychological pivot and problem that we have here in our society, is to not shake away off the old norms, right? In
Yes.
order for us to be more innovative, we're going to have to accept change. I mean, I wish I was 25 again, but that's just a wish, right? And so over time, people's minds and government policies and corporate policies must change to stay innovative in the game. We have seen this new revolutionary trend, as we can see in the papers, technology jobs, they're getting cut, they're getting sliced, right? I think that the notion is to change a new perspective of new innovative minds. No one says in the media that small business has increased 15% in the last 2 years. Entrepreneurs are actually creating their own businesses in order to sustain this new way of living.
Yes. So why is the EU so way ahead of us and embracing all of this stuff? I mean, I've seen it for years where even, let's take cell phones. When I used to visit my family in London, they all had cell phones. This was their means. They didn't even have house phones anymore. I'm talking way back. To me is what the dark ages, you know, 15, 20 years ago. I mean, I'm like, why don't you have a house phone? Your phone is ringing. And they're like, oh, it's in my pocket. How am I supposed to answer the phone in your pocket? The American mentality, right? But they're like, well, this way I could answer my phone no matter where I am.
Right.
And so I was frustrated because I remember the old phone number from the house phone.
Yes.
And when I'm out in the street and I don't have a cell phone in London, they think like, why don't you have a cell phone, right?
Right.
And that took about almost 10 years.
Wow.
Ahead of us.
Right.
Before everyone had a cell phone if you weren't a drug dealer, you know.
Right. Or, you know, that whole thing about having a cell phone or a pager, right? And that was the thing in America. And to answer your question, why is America so behind? There's one answer to that. Comfortability. If it's not broke, let's not fix it. However, it's broken. Countries such as Japan and the EU have things such as sustainability models and goals to, progress their countries to the top. I 1000% agree with you. I remember going to France, and my BlackBerry back then had the best reception in the world. When I come back here in the States, it's like half the bars, right? As I'm looking through these studies, these programs, and the investment to understand living more sustainable, better culture for people, et cetera, all of these are indoctrines into their society of growth. And they understand from history that you can't stay in one place and thinking you're, the almighty giant. You have to grow in order to be better.
Like they said, if you're not growing, you're dying.
Agreed. And America is dying in regards to infrastructure, in regards to innovation. Now, there might be some critics out there to say, what are you talking about? We created these, digital aspects of assets, right? However, have we really deployed those assets across the nation? And the answer is no. No one listened to Andrew Yang during the presidential campaign when he talked about, universal basic income. Everyone said, oh, that's welfare. And that's not the case. It was the pivot to the point to move us to more of a digital society in order for us to stay competitive with the global world.
Why are we so set in our ways? Like, we're one of the most educated countries, right? We spend so much on education per person in this country, from public school. Like, it's ridiculous how much we spend on public school kids, and they wind up not knowing a thing, they graduate almost illiterate, in this day and age. I can't imagine. So what do we need to do to move ourselves and be at the forefront of this? Because we clearly are not.
Right. I think that it's the movement that the people, we have to start at the bottom. We're so reliant on top decision making. We have the means and ability in our own communities to actually improve a little bit at a time in rural areas, right? And be able to focus the change from the bottom up. In the past, it used to be from the top down, but I believe that this new paradigm of 4.0 and 5.0 means allows different states, different cities to be able to organically build and show a positive turn.
And what is your role in that, Sheila?
My role is all about education of how. Well, how do we do this, Sheila? How do we make a society that is not dependent on human capital labor? How do we do this, right? Essentially,
Sheila.
So how do we do this? Well, the top three things is first, how do you become financially, I would say, movement of your own mental capacity of changing the way that you make a financial decision, right? Incentivizing is one. Today we have 13-year-olds and 14-year-olds on the virtual platform making money out of skins, making money out of designs. And these kids have not even completed high school, and they're becoming, brick and mortar multi-million dollars on the web, right? So there is a need to be innovative. So the first thing is to educate generation millennials such as myself and other generations about the new facet of what the foundation of money looks like. Then two, it's important for us to create and build these microsystems to allow that financial aspect of the dollar or the current global currency to be infiltrated within the community. And then third, teach the new generation of how to live the new way. Because living the new way is going to give opportunity for those, essentially, they'll be able to sustain generational wealth and be able to live more free than being tied down on a job from a 9-to-5.
Well, I think we need to take it even a step back, because we don't teach financial literacy in schools, right? So if we're not even doing the basic stuff, right now on April 20th, I'm co-chairing the Enterprising Women Foundation mentoring program, which is in a high school, and we're bringing STEM to high school girls and showing them women who are in STEM programs, to mentor them and have them ask questions, and then they win a scholarship to go to the conference in Florida. Two girls will win. So there's a financial literacy game that is created by Nova, which is part of Stanford, I think it is. And they created this game about decision-making, financial decision-making, right? It is really amazing, but I think it's almost too ahead of its time for these girls. There's a step that needed to be done that not them, they can't do anything about it. But this game, you click on it and you have to make a choice, which is really a financial decision. Do you buy the $100 Michael Jordan sneaker, or they give you a certain amount of money, first of all, and you have to spend that money wisely if you want to get all the things you need in the game, right? So let's say they give you $200 and you have this choice. Want Michael Jordan's $100 sneaker, and I'll have $100 left over for something that's going to take $200.
Right.
Right? Or $150. So you sit there, you'll be out of the game. They don't know. They'll be out of the game if they choose the sneaker, because this is where you have to start the mental capacity of calculating want versus need and budget, right? And you have the option, which they don't know, they can figure it out though, that you can put your Michael Jordans on layaway.
Right.
Remember that word? I don't know what they call it. It's my day was layaway. I don't know what it is now. 3 months pay plan, you know, but it was layaway. It was layaway, right? So they could pay $20 a month or whatever, and is only using $20, and still have the rest of the money to go do some of the other necessary things. Not fun and not fashionable, but you know, fun. Or you could buy a $20 pair of Reeboks or Skippies, as we used to, or whatever we used to call them. But the cheap sneakers that you only need shoes to wear, right? So it starts to make you wonder as a young person, I can register to go to college and I'll still wear shoes, but they're not gonna be like, who cares if it's the best, you know, most fashionable shoe? And so I love that decision-making part of it. But what I think they missed out on, and not they, the company Nova, but the world of the USA public school, is when I was in public school a zillion years ago, back in the dark ages of public school, we used to have a bank come into our school, and you could get a passbook account, those old things you used to stamp. I give you a quarter, you stamp that you gave me a quarter, and it would be deposited into the dime savings bank, right? And it taught you how to save. And in the process of saving, you learn how to make financial decisions. Do I buy this candy bar, or do I put my money where I'm gonna get interest on my quarter next week? And we don't have that anymore. So they removed that foundation from the schools. And now you're trying to teach high school girls how to make this decision. And they need the foundational skills.
They need the foundational skills. I 1000% agree. And my one of my great friends, Donovan, he actually has a financial literacy program for families, including kids, to understand the new way of Web 3.0, Society 5.0, and how to make that generational decisions in wealth at birth. And so I 1000% understand that I didn't have the financial literacy as a kid. My mother taught me how to pay bills, but not really how to save a dollar, right? I didn't understand about index funds and all of these things because it wasn't an educational means to them as well. But I think that us fast forwarding now, kids actually have more access to information than once I did or you did. However, it's still needing to be educated within families to show what that looks like and for the future. I also would like to just add on to there is that the financial means of how to build, I think, entrepreneurship is going to be, it will need to be instilled in schools, in grade schools, earlier than their time of maturity. And the reason why I'm saying that is that if we are going to fast forward our sonic boom to Society 5.0, the children will need to understand how to live this new societal living way earlier than just high school.
Yeah, because we're teaching them how to code. You know, my friend Sharon has a company that teaches kids how to code, like young kids, little kids. And I don't even remember how to code at this point, truthfully. But we have to trickle it down to those younger minds that they come up learning how to code, right? I saw a baby the other day with her mom's cell phone.
Mm-hmm.
She knows how to swipe.
Yes.
Girlfriend knows how to swipe. I'm talking a baby of months. I don't think it was a year old.
Yes. And they know.
The action of swiping.
Yes. My niece at 2 knew how to download Angry Birds off of an Android phone and play it. Didn't know how to write her name, but she knew how to download Angry Birds at that time when Angry Birds is a phenomenon, and download the game and play it on the levels and beat these levels at 2 years old. That just tells us that the advancement of evolution of humans, of many humans, they're latching on quicker than what my generation did or your generation did.
Yeah.
And it's because of the sonic boom of just evolution. And as I mentioned in about 4.0, there's going to be more entrepreneurial, this is my theory, there's going to be more entrepreneurial beings than there are companies. I think that the society is going to move to a people-to-people network where people are going to be able to govern themselves, govern their food, govern the way that they work, money. And I stress that because if I can take 5 bots and lease them from X, Y, and Z company, that's my uncle's, and lease my bots out to another bot, right? That's working at Frito-Lay, and I'm going to charge them $5 an hour, right? Yeah. 20 hours a day, give 4 hours a charge. I can run them 7 days a week. And guess what? I'm going to make even more money than me just being on the manufacturing line. That's the digital switch in our minds to say, yes, we don't need humans to do simple task work and still benefit from it, generational wealth. And that right there, I think that us in America, going back to your previous question, that is where that's what there's afraid of, because it will break the class system in half, right? If people knew of how to be more entrepreneurial with just a little bit, just lease a bot, 2 bots. That will pay for your rent, your mortgage, and guess what? You have more time. You have more time in your hands to be innovative even more, because you're not stressed out, you're not boggled, and you're not working, gotta get to that job or such. That is where the sustainability model of people living better lives comes in. If they're able to gain their time and be able to still make money and make a means, and kind of revert back to how kind of not things were, but you have more freedom and time for yourselves.
There are so many Instagram millionaires right now.
Yes, there is. Yes, there is. There is a lot of Instagram, but I think that the trade of currency and the way that this new societal, it is peer-to-peer. 3.0 is all about peer-to-peer. The way that we kind of look at how TikTok is, which, by the way, I am a fan of TikTok. Mm-hmm. The way that data is stored in 3.0, there's no data. People are governing the data. You can't see the data. They're just governing the data, right? And it's not lobbied by a government institution like the Federal Reserve. That's the same thing with crypto, right? You have all these other people making sure that this money in crypto land is okay, is validated. We burned this, right? That's the way we're going in the near future. And 4.0 is designing us and helping us get to that new level of 5.0.
So what are you doing with young girls or the next generation? How are you helping them to get on board with their mindset and the physical training that needs to be done?
Yes, before I can get to the young population, I got to get to my population, and essentially my generation, actually, sorry about that, on educating them about the new way of work, the new way of living. And my company, SEER, is all Microsoft based, right? We are about adoption change management, where we change the mindsets of how we work and live and breathe today. How I'm doing that is by, speaking through engagements, getting folks educated about this new system and showing them the ways of how to do that through kind of my proprietary method that's coming out soon. And hopefully this phenomenon will help educate and grow, be the first one here in the United States. People of color, it doesn't matter your background. you can be able to take it and to run with it and be very successful.
And what's the pitfalls or the downsides of what you're doing now at the first? Like, what challenges are you coming up against?
The challenge of the beginning is that some folks do not want to change. That's the biggest thing. Mindset, right? Changing the mindset it's like turning a vessel in the middle of the ocean, right? It's how many knocks we got to do to turn that thing. And so I think that when people are on Instagram, as you mentioned, they see these millionaires, right? It just takes time. Are people willing to invest the time to learn again? And essentially, I know that as time progresses, it might be, but it might be too late for them.
Right.
However, the biggest thing is all about the mindset of change, that to get away from, it's always been this way. If we continue as a society to think this way, we will never grow and flourish. And then we become less of a threat or less of a contributor in the global market.
Yeah, honestly, I don't know how to inspire, if that's the best word, because inspiration alone is not enough. There's physical action that has to be taken in order to do these things. You have to go take a class, go sit and there are no ways, no shortcuts really around this piece of it. And I see it. But let's start with the older generation, older than mine. Like my mom's generation, like women in their 80s, right?
Yes.
They're learning how to use even Zoom.
Yes, or even a smartphone. Yeah, it's hard.
Well, to them, it's not smartphone.
Yes.
My mother could give you 1,000 reasons why it's not smarter than her. But yeah, they're learning, and it's slower for them. And they have to have their own in-house technicians, aka Sandi.
Yes.
To, what is this? This popped up on my phone, and should I touch it, or I touched something and I know I lost everything on my phone, right? So we're still dealing with that generation. You're dealing with my generation, women in over 50, let's say. So the women over 50, we've been out here. We've been at the forefront of some of those things that are happening.
Correct.
But the ones like me who've been running a company day to day, we're not hands-on on it, right? We kind of delegate. I was writing this blog that says I'm obsolete in marketing because I had a marketing company, but I wasn't doing marketing for the past 20 years. I was pushing paper and paying people and doing deals, and for the marketing company, other people were doing the marketing. So if you try to get me to do your marketing, I can do the strategy.
Right.
But girl, I tried to do a funnel. And I was like, what is a funnel? I had to take classes and start from scratch. And I'm like, this is really cool. But I haven't had the time or the inclination to even think about it, because it was just easy to hire a person who did that, right? And then there's the next generation down from me, women in their, say 30 to 35 to 50, around that age. They're still the doers. They're still the ones who are out there on Instagram figuring out stuff. They're still the ones who are the functional person doing that. They have the functional expertise, right? Because they're the doers. And so they're looking to move up the food chain to be a me, and then they're going to stop doing. Right? So we have all these people, and then you have the women in their 20s or the people in their 20s. That's a whole other mindset. And we're talking about the teenagers and the kids. So how many generations is that we're all dealing with and have to teach at the same time to get us all on the same page? How do we do that with one teaching instrument?
If we take every 10 years and we go back, we're going to see a big change. My grandmother's 88 and she's still alive and well. However, I couldn't give her an Apple phone, even with 2 apps on there with a call and chat, right?
A flip phone.
It was just too much for her. Although in her generation, she's seen everything from the radio to black and white TV to color TV to flat screen TV to cable to
Netflix.
Right, to Netflix. Like, oh, this is the flickies. You call it flickies, right? They've seen the change in their lifetime. They've seen things of policies and people's fashion. I think they're the pioneers of change. However, this new change is really obsolete because it's digitally enhanced. My grandmother worked at B of A. She still calls it data processing center. Okay. When the cars of computers were in. To answer your question, that's actually a good question. I'm looking at the roadmap of how other countries are pushing technology, such as Japan, to take care of their older population, knowing that they cannot work anymore, right? Making it more sustainable for them because they're living longer, because medicine is available, right? They cannot work in factories, but they need to still have sustainable means to live. There's going to come a point to where the generation every 10 years, 50, 60, 70, I think when you're 60 and beyond, if you're going to be 60, you're going to be 70 in 10 years, you're going to see a major change in society. And just like everything else, the time will continue to move forward. And if you do not change, you're going to be left in the dust. And we're starting to see that today. Grocery stores.
Yes.
Self-checkout. I went to Denny's, saw a robot delivering my food, right?
Really?
I was amazed. I was like, yes, this is awesome, right? Because we're starting to move into a direction where the server can still serve me, but he now has time to focus on customer experience instead of running around with like 12 plates on their hands, right? Hopefully not to fall, spend time on dumping the food on the floor, that they actually have quality time to give me quality service from a human. So I think that hopefully I answered your question, because it's a lot of things that's going in my mind of how, as a society, we just need to take a little bit of change at a time. And we're starting to see it, even if we like it or not, we're going to still go to the grocery store, right?
But it's almost an oxymoron when you say a little bit of change at a time when we're in warp drive.
Yes, we are. And the little bit of change at a time is just to accept the change around you. And that is the truth, because it is coming. You're going to still need to go to a grocery store. You're still going to need to go to a gas station or electronic station, right? The times do change. And if you stay in the past, you will be missed.
Or have a power station in your garage.
There you go. We're living sustainable. We can actually now, with technology, we can grow our own food, right? We can send things via kind of drone-like, right? We can send things across without plane.
Oh, that's so funny. You mentioned the food thing, because here in my complex, I was all excited to move here because in Brooklyn, I have a garden and my mom has a garden, and we grow our own food, and we freeze it for the winter. And I'm like, oh, in Virginia, we have way more land. I could have a garden. And my complex says we can't plant, we cannot have that kind of a garden because the deer and all the stuff is. And I'm like, how is this better?
Yeah, it's not better, because you can microgreen. I have a friend that owns a microgreen company for that in-house, a platonics, I think that is called, and I can grow squash all year, or whatever, the greens all year long. If I want to have romaine, I can grow it in my room, and I'm not subjected to go to the grocery store. I can actually grow produce all year long. And I know I have my seeds. I don't need to go. I know it's going to take 14 days from seed to whatever, just making hypothetical. But it just shows that these innovators are starting to think outside the box of why do I have to go to a particular place to get my basic necessities and needs? And if that in itself is not directing the change, I think this new generation that's coming up is going to be, they're going to be a very powerful group of folks. They're going to
Yes,
change.
they are. Yes, they are. I hope I'm around to see some of it, but I know, change like this takes generations to really come to fruition the way that we look at it. And the sustainability part is so big because we have used up a lot of our resources and we really need to get that in check.
Agreed. And I thought I really am fascinated about the Japanese concept of Society 5.0. It was designed and built for their country to be more sustainable in the near future, for less discrimination, more empowerment for women, more safety for people, less in poverty, have no poverty, no homelessness. These are they call them SDKs, sustainability, kind of like knowledge models, right, of where they're going to go. And they're doing that. Their government is doing that. They're making better decisions, embracing technology instead of running from it.
Yeah, and our president is, ex-president is about to
be indicted. Our government does need to change. Our branches of government definitely needs to change. I think that the times of the model, what it used to be, and this is just my personal opinion, there's times, just I'm going to make a direct reference to the Bible. I think it was like not having 10 on your roofs, right? And it was considered a sin, right? There's some certain things and times that evolution takes over, whatever biblical term or whatever old term that used to be condemnation.
Before, it's just in a different form now.
Correct. In a sense, that's how that's how our government is. It is broken, and I wouldn't say it's broken. It's outdated, and it needs a new, right, to be able to work with the new technologies for today.
But as a people, that's where the understanding comes in, because where are we getting the money, right? We're funding things. We have wars we have to help fund, because there's going to be a repercussion if we don't. And so it's back to budgeting, right? It's back to basic budgeting.
Yes, agreed. And then also it goes back to people governing, right? The BRICS, the dollar, everyone's distracted, but the dollar has weakened really bad.
Yeah.
And what does that mean for us? Take an example for like Venezuela. Their dollar, they put $100 million in the sky, and it wasn't worth 1 gram of penny.
Yeah.
For the Americans not to think that it would not happen to our country is senile. If we didn't learn anything from history about Rome and Japan and the other countries that were for a long time ago, and they failed.
I mean, the British conquered, as many as they can, other peoples, right? From Africa all the way to the West Indies and in between.
Agreed. If there's that S is a young country, 450 years. I'm sorry. Can you hear me okay? No worries. Yeah. I was going to say, we're only a young country of 450 years. We are young. We're making very rapid mistakes. And I think that this time of us changing can put us back in a better society reset. And yes, I'm going to use the word reset, because society 4.0 and 5.0 are resource reset mechanisms to get us to a better place.
Well, I'm glad you're at the forefront of this, Sheila.
Thank you so much, Dr.
Help educate us and make sure that we're on the right track and we get what we need in this 5.0 world.
Thank you.
So I appreciate your coming on. and helping in whatever way you can.
Absolutely. And
This is Dr. Sandi. Thank you so much for sharing your journey on the first, where no two stories are alike, even if the circumstances are similar. Let this discussion serve as inspiration for others to show what's possible, and more importantly, to produce seconds and thirds.